Now go to the gentleman from Idaho, Mr. Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the panel for being here today. Idaho is in urgent need of another federal judgeship. The last time Idaho received an Article III judgeship was in 1954. This 64-year wait is unprecedented, and it keeps getting longer, obviously. My concern isn't just about the timing. Over the past 6 decades, Idaho's population has nearly tripled. In fact, the U.S. Census recently announced that Idaho is the fastest growing state in the country. And in March, Forbes magazine named Idaho's capital, Boise, the fastest growing metro area in the United States. Despite this impressive increase, Idaho still has fewer judgeships than states such as Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, Maine, and South Dakota, all who have smaller populations and/or smaller weighted caseloads. Idaho's insufficient number of Article III judges is also surprising in light of the fact that its docket continues to outpace those of other similar communities and courts. Since 2001, criminal filings in Idaho have increased by 163% and by 41% over the last 3 years alone. Also, due to the recent announcement of 2 new U.S. attorneys for Idaho, the number of criminal cases will only increase. Further, despite a national trend of a reduction in civil cases, the number of civil filings in Idaho has remained relatively consistent over the last 10 years. This extremely heavy caseload is currently being managed by 3 federal judges, 2 who are full-time and 1 who is in senior status. The senior judge carries only a 75% caseload and obviously could retire any day. In fact, I think the reason he hasn't retired is because we don't have an additional judge. Once he retires, one of the 2 remaining judges plans to take senior status with a reduced caseload, leaving only 1 full-time Article III judge in the District of Idaho, and thereby creating an immediate judicial emergency. Federal judges from neighboring state districts have acted as visiting judges to alleviate the burgeoning caseload in Idaho. In 2017 alone, the District of Idaho engaged the help of 25 visiting judges. Between 2012 and 2017, visiting judges spent over 832 hours away from their own states to hear federal cases in Idaho. While their temporary assistance is appreciated, it has created uncertainty among litigators who struggle to prepare cases for these particular judges, about whom they know very little, if anything. Finally, the burden of Idaho's massive geography is an important factor for the conference to consider when issuing its decision about a new judgeship. The entire state of Idaho is 1 district that encompasses over 83,000 square miles and 2 time zones. Additionally, the state is subdivided into 3 divisions, each with their own federal courthouse. Traveling between these 3 venues includes stretches of 222 to 458 miles. And air transport is not an option in some of those cases. This is roughly the equivalent to driving between Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, and Boston. The federal judges in Idaho spend significant amounts of time traveling between the 3 courthouses. I know you're aware of all these things, but I just wanted to emphasize how important the dire need that we have in Idaho is. Judge Stengel, given these facts, what is your response to Idaho's need for a 3rd Article III judgeship?
The Judicial Conference strongly supports an additional permanent judge for the District of Idaho for the reasons that you cite. The caseload, the weighted caseload, certainly supports the additional judgeship. And when I talked earlier about qualitative and quantitative factors, the qualitative factor here that is so profound is the distance that the judges are required to travel among the divisional offices. You correctly state it's 222 miles and 458 miles, and that is an extraordinary burden on those judges. So we're well aware of those factors and strongly support the additional permanent judge in Idaho.
Thank you. And why has Idaho had to wait longer than any other state for an additional federal judge?
I really can't speak to, we do the survey every 2 years. Our recommendation for Idaho, I think, has been consistent. I can't speak to why that has not been acted on.
As you're looking at your determination, does the conference consider that justice may not adequately be served when a state has an insufficient number of federal judges?
There's no question. And that's why it has such an emergent nature, not only in the courts with judicial emergencies, which deals more with vacancies, but in the courts such as your state, where justice delayed is justice denied, and the fact that the resources are less than they need to be is a problem with the administration of justice.
As you know, we have some amazing judges in the state, and they're doing the best they can with the resources
Absolutely.
that they have. I have a bill before this Congress trying to get an additional judgeship, and I hope that we can get that done, hopefully before the end of the year. Thank you very much for your time.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Would this presume that you embrace equally the other recommendations of the Judicial Conference in a combined bill that would, among other things, reduce by one the Wyoming judgeship, which apparently is the pay-for your getting this additional one? Is that envisioned by you that they're not only right in your case, but they're right in all cases?
I will support anything that the commission advises and anything that we can get passed through this Congress.
I thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Deutsch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.